And we're live with Dr. Nick Thompson. How are you, Dr. Nick?
Hey Rob, it's so good to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited to be with you today and talk to you. Thanks for making the evening, some evening time with me.
Absolute pleasure. It's great to be here. And we're going to be talking about regenerative agriculture and how that keys into food and how that keys into nutrition and health. And it's a great topic because it's the big picture. And I love that big picture stuff.
Well, it is the next level of this microbiome, getting the microbiome of our food right and getting it into us
Mm.
is people can't really make that connection, and maybe that's a good place to start.
Okay.
If you're eating things from healthy soil, not dirt, but healthy soil, and you're getting that in you, let me ask you this, pose this as a question to you. Do you
Mhm.
think that translates into the health of our food and our biome?
I can do better than that. There is a book written called "You Are What Your Food Eats," and it's a really fantastic book uh, by who was it? He wrote Dirt,
Yeah.
and then he combined with his wife, uh, whose name escapes me, but "You Are What Your Food Ate" is the title of the book. You can find it in bookstores. And essentially, their thesis is that if the soil is unhealthy, the either the crops that we grow and then eat directly or feed to our animals directly or via fermentation or whatever it might be, or if the grass that then grows that feeds the ruminants, that in itself will be unhealthy because of the mineral content, because of the microbiome content, because of the micronutrients which are derived from the soil. So Nicole Masters talks about this a lot. The soul of food lies in the soil. Yeah, when you trace it back to the source, that's where it all comes from. It's a bit like saying, "Oh, the water in the river in front of me is unclean, is unpolluted. I'll just keep bucketing out at this river and see what I can do." What you need to do is you need to go upriver. You need to go to the tire plant upriver, and you need to say, "Guys, you've got to clean up your act." Or the conventional farm upriver, where all the soil is sloughing off the land into the river. It's silting it up. All the glyphosate, all the nitrate fertilizer is entering the river, and that's what is then polluting the river as it comes past you. And what we often do in modern human and veterinary medicine is we're just taking buckets out of the river at that level, when in fact we need to go way back. Thing is, vets are not really taught about soil. I can definitely say I thought soil was dirt until maybe 10 years ago, and then sudden revelation. It's where it all starts. And this is the kind of thing, I think we should be teaching it at school, because if you don't teach the origin of life, yeah, they teach bacteria, then fish, and then mud skippers, and then lizards and dinosaurs and mammals, and that whole evolution. Everybody knows that, absolutely. But if we take the most beautiful story in the current day, which goes from the generation of rich, deep, nutritious soil, which then feeds the plants, which feed us and our beautiful pets. If we don't know that story, it's very easy for us to abuse the land and create the environmental destruction that we see today. If you know and love something, it is impossible to destroy that thing. So I think that this would be a great thing to start at primary school and take it right up through into college students, into vet students. I think it's really important that everybody has a good grasp of what soil is, how it works, how the bugs and the roots and the rhizosphere and the plants and that interaction, that and the carbon fixing that happens as part of the interaction between the bugs, the worms, the protozoa, the microhelminths within the soil. It's just a plethora of delight and intrigue, and it feeds us. And which is a very long way of saying, if you get the soil right, then the food is right. And if the food going into you, either the plant food going into you or the animal food which is grazed on indigestible plant products, if that is right, then that goes into you, and that will help to create the soil within your gut, which we call the microbiome. Yeah, so there's an indirect link between the microbiome of the soil and the soil within you, which is the microbiome as well. There's a beautiful symmetry to the whole thing.
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
I want to break this down a little bit. I love everything you said. Let's first talk about how can it be, for those that are having a tough time grasping, how does it translate from dirt, the goodness in the dirt, all those things that you mentioned, and how does it translate into our belly or our dog's belly?
Okay, so let's have a look at that. So let's start really, really simple. So you've got a plant. It could be, say, what should we take? We'll just take grass. Okay, because then we've got a ruminant intermediate. Okay, so the grass is growing. You got the green stuff goes up, and you've got the white roots material going down. If we're lucky, it's going down a really, really, really long way into the soil.
Yeah.
The grass takes sunlight and photosynthesizes and creates sugars up in the grasses. These are then transported down into the roots. Now, why does the grass bother to do that? Okay, there's a certain element. They may store some of those starches for growth, but one of the main elements is they use the starch, the sugars, as a means of exchange with the bacteria, because what the bacteria are very good at, they're very good at breaking down minerals, which the plant can't do. So the bacteria, if you like, has a conversation and says, I'll tell you what, buddy, I'm going to break down this silicon, the iron, the calcium. I'm going to break that down for you, but you've got to pay me. And the plant says, well, it just so happens that I'm very rich in sugars and starches, and I'm going to give you some of that carbon-rich product, which then goes into the soil, which us humans are very happy to have that carbon being put into the soil structures, taken out of the atmosphere into the soil structures. The bacteria are very happy because they have yummy sugars and starches to eat that they wouldn't otherwise be able to synthesize. And in return, they trade the minerals that the plants can then use in order to grow healthily. Now, Those minerals are then taken into the roots and used for root structure, and the mycorrhizae, the fungi. There's so much fungi below the surface of the soil, and they take part in this dance as well. They have a similar, the bacteria, the protozoa, the mycorrhizae. They all have this exchange with the plant. And so the plant takes what it gains from these dealings with these little tiny bugs within the soil, and it creates healthy, nutritious grass, which has a wide and diverse nutrient content. If you grow grass in very microbiome undiverse soil, so it's essentially glorified sand, then you get very weak, sickly grass. Or if you use loads of fertilizer, all this stuff doesn't really need to go on, because you get growth without all the goodness coming through. So let's assume you've got a farmer who's using lots of manure and things, and you're getting great soil. These minerals come up and they create super nutritious grass. That's how evolution has created it. So the super nutritious grass is there. The ruminants come along. So Daisy the cow, she comes along. And what's really, really interesting is that when she eats that grass, it stimulates it to grow. Her saliva, it's actually been shown, Rob, that the saliva of ruminants will stimulate further growth of that grass as well. It's not just the cutting, but there is salivary stimulation, which is amazing. That's symbiosis, that's adaptation, so that they can work together. The goodness of that grass is then taken into Daisy, which is further broken down in her rumen by more bugs. Yeah, we think cows eat grass. Yeah, well, they do the physical eating thing, but what breaks it down, what creates it into something that the cow can absorb, the fatty acids, it is the bacteria. And the richer, more diverse, more healthy, less polluted that grazing material, then the richer, more diverse the microbiome, and the richer and the more diverse those are, the better the nutrients going into Daisy the cow, and the more healthy, the better immunity she has. The better the musculature that she has, the milk that she may produce is going to be richer in butterfat and the nutrients and the minerals there. Okay, and humans take those things and use them for cheese and dairy and yogurt and all these great things. And then we humans, because we have been for hundreds of thousands of years, we may take Daisy and respectfully sacrifice her so that we can because of this element of respect. If you just take away the steaks and then just throw the rest on the rubbish heap, that's totally disrespecting her and nature and everything that's good. Yeah. But if we try and utilize everything from nose to tail, the phrase is let's use everything from nose to tail. So we're using the leather for shoes and clothes and what have you. And we will use the tongue, and we'll use the cheek, and we'll use the neck muscle, and we use the heart, and we use the liver, and we use the kidneys. I have to point to these as I say them so that I can go through the body. Yes. And we'll use the spleen, and we'll use all of these because they all have diverse nutrients. Yeah. And thus, carnivorous, humans, omnivores, you can either argue that either way, but dogs, they're way at the top of omnivory, or they're way at the bottom of carnivory. Okay, they can dance between those two things. They would prefer to be up into carnivory given half a chance. Right. But I think that fermented vegetable products is really, really important, because in nature, most of our carnivores, they won't go and graze grass, obviously. Yeah, lions and tigers don't graze grass. Wolves and things don't really graze grass, but they will eat those food producing animals, but they will eat the intestines. Now, there's some debate as to whether a wolf will dive into the rumen and just lap up the rumen contents. In order to get to the liver, you're probably going to get a lot of rumen contents on you. So just by cleaning yourself and your buddies in the pack, you're going to have rumen contents going in. Yeah. This is a beautiful probiotic. But what's happening is that wolf is eating fermented products. So I'm coming more and more and more to the idea that lightly cooked vegetables, if you're doing it at home, I have for years been saying let's feed raw vegetables, but reading the work of Paul Saladino, who says that plants really don't want to get eaten, I think that there may be something in that. So I'm going more to say, if we're going to feed veggies, then lightly steamed is a great idea. And I love greens to do this. Or what we have been doing for hundreds of thousands of years as humans, probably accidentally initially, is they ferment, which is like the intestinal contents, there's a lot of probiotics, there's lactobacilli, there are all sorts of beneficial bacteria within that. It's like sauerkraut. Your mother says you've got to eat the sauerkraut. You say, no, Mom, I don't like it. But why does she insist that you eat the sauerkraut? Because it's so good for you, because it's almost partially digested. Any anti-nutrients are reduced in that fermented product, and it kind of harks back to that ruminant gut content, which I think really would have been a mainstay throughout evolution. Dogs have been eating ruminants for 45 million years. Okay, so there's another dance, there's another symbiosis. Yeah. You give me these fermented products, and I will look after your herds so they don't get too big. So that we have optimal grazing. They obviously don't consciously do this. It's just the way things balance. Nature is the queen of balance, and it's a wonderful thing. So again, that's a very long way of saying fermented. That's the rationale for thinking that fermented product is really the bee's knees.
Well, when people say to us, well, I don't care for fermented, they're always thinking about kimchi or sauerkraut or something. Obviously, everybody's got different tastes, but they're probably eating cheese. They're probably having coffee. They probably are having chocolate. And you could go, there's, sausage, there's over and over and over. There's example after example of fermentation. And it's all different. There's different methods to it. There's different benefits to this versus this. But, on the Paul Saladino tip, I think Paul's coming around a little bit to some veggies. And I know his big thing is, anti-nutrients and things in different, and there are varying degrees of different vegetables. And, Dr. Billinghurst's position on this is that what some other scientists are believing, which is there may be some benefit to the hormetic effect if there is this anti-nutrient reaction in your body. And that all of us react differently. All of our dogs react differently. So, you might be able to tolerate kale better than me, et cetera, et cetera. But the benefit of the hormetic effect, which is just a little bit of irritant, it actually makes you stronger. What do you think about that?
I think that if you ferment any greens, you're not going to remove all anti-nutrients, and that's going to be your anti-nutrients just in the background, because otherwise you'd have to ferment the hell out of it, and that would start reducing the nutrient value. And and so, and within the rumen, there's going to be fresh material coming in, which is not that fermented, and there's going to be material that's super fermented, which is down at the end of the small intestine. So I think that it is valid. And if you lightly steam vegetables, you're going to reduce. You're not going to eliminate anti-nutrients. The thing is, it's quite interesting, Rob, and I'd love your take on this. I think that we in the nutrient world will often come from a kind of scientific perspective and say, well, it must be this or it must be this. Whereas actually within nutrition, it's usually a shade of gray.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not fully black, it's not fully white, it's somewhere in the middle. And that's where I think it's really, really fascinating, because it means it moves into the realm of art, as opposed to, well, this is nuclear physics, and it's either going to do this or it's going to do this, or the rocket is going to take off, or it is going to reach the moon, or the gravity that you can measure it, and what have you. It's less black and white, which is, I think, why I really love nutrition, because there are so many shades of understanding, interpretation, and there's always new studies that you can do, because nutrition is generally not a very pure science, and it's quite difficult to study. There's no such thing as a carbohydrate. There's no such thing as a fat. There's no such thing as a protein in nature. It's a mental construct, and but that's what makes it fascinating.
Yeah. I think we didn't know about organisms, microbes, before the microscope, and we're learning it seems like it's speeding up. We're learning more every year, every couple of years. And we're changing our opinions about things very rapidly. So I approach nutrition, and I know you do, with a great deal of respect and humility.
Sure.
And I always say, like, in my head, I think this is what we go on now. This is what we now know. And I focus always on that humility, and I focus on just really good principles, healthy. I'd rather have food grown in healthier soil than less healthier soil. I'd rather have, food that is higher in nutrients and lower in nutrients, lower in oxalates and anti-nutrients than higher, on and on and on. But also, I'm not very in my personal life, in my dog's life, I'm not very dogmatic about it all, because I realize that this too may evolve.
This too may evolve. There's a book in there somewhere, I think, that we must write.
Yeah, and I think also, Nick, we have to be very comfortable with not knowing things, and we have to also look at things in a more holistic way. When we talk about the soil to the grass to the animal we eat, it's not that complicated. It's just that we've never been taught in school to think that way.
Yeah, I think it's so complicated that it's actually it looks easy.
Yeah, well,
that's kind of the truth of the matter. Yeah, there are so many interactions. It's like health. I'm healthy. How simple is that? It's like, actually, you've got a million processes working that way. You've got a million processes working that way, and they are dancing somewhere in the middle and holding you there in equilibrium. And that's your health. And you need to just be thankful every second for the glory of that, methinks.
Amen.
I think absolutely. And I think that, what was I going to say? Oh, to know what you know, but know what you don't know. Yeah, that's a trite old trope. But I think that the minute you start thinking, there was a quote that I gave in a talk in Helsinki recently, and it goes something like, oh yeah, if you haven't got 100 competing nutritional phenomena going on in your mind, you're not a nutritionist, you're a dogmatist. Isn't that good?
Beautiful.
Isn't it? So if you're a nutritionist and you're feeling a little bit confused, a little bit at sea, you're probably doing it right. Yeah. If you're certain of where you are and that your formula is, I'm trying not to swear, is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yep.
Probably not.
No. And, when you were talking about anti-nutrients and all that, fermentation isn't the only way. You can sprout, you can soak, and you can use pressure cooker, whatever, you could steam, there's lots of ways, and they're all at varying degrees. And is anybody able to measure that? No. I mean,
No.
you could get into a big study, I'm sure, but nobody's doing that in their kitchen.
Yeah, completely agree, which is why I say that one of the key elements of nutrition is the ingredient that doesn't go in the bowl. It's variety.
Yep.
Okay. That's what's going to keep you from excess and deficiency, which is what, everybody's so paranoid about. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, I'm going to give too much copper. It's, well, if you give,
Yep.
3 kilos of liver to your dog for the next 6 years, you might run into problems. That is not a raw food diet. A raw food diet involves getting the proportions about right. But the key element is that you give variety. Now, whether you give the same thing for 2 weeks and then you give something else for 2 weeks and then you give something else for 2 weeks, that's okay. Or you may give something, a lot of people just reach into the freezer and they get their product out. They may or may not add something to it. I think it's a good idea too. And that's not just because I'm talking to you. And bring in that variety. And I think that makes it fun.
Yep.
It means it's stimulating for the dog, which is cool. Yeah. Life is short. Why go on, a really strict, narrow diet just because it's thought at that certain time in history to be the optimal diet? Yeah, you're going to be prey to die because you're so bored. So variety we're inbred to love variety. Humans certainly do. And I think dogs do. I once had a conversation with a board certified nutritionist, and she said, dogs don't need variety. Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's she's entitled to her opinion.
Sure.
And I'm sure if you didn't give variety for a year or 2 or 3, they'd probably get away with it. But you're going to have a pretty bored dog.
Yeah.
You're going to have a very bored owner. And if there's anything minutely wrong with that diet, you're going to be edging off track.
Yep.
Each day. So variety is absolute key. I've done courses. I talk about this a lot, but it's so simple. It's like, mix it up, bro.
Yeah.
It's just or sis. What's the opposite of bro? What's the opposite of bro?
I don't know.
Sister.
Yeah, sister. Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Well, the complexity that you brought up, the complexity of nature, the complexity of health. If you look at, I don't know, pick anything, broccoli. Look at a head of broccoli. It looks simple. It's incredibly complex, and it's incredibly complete. It is over millions and millions of years has figured out exactly what it needs to be complete. It's fascinating. Complex, not the definition of complex being difficult, but there's complexity in it, and it is sophisticated. It is, complex. And so I think having that level of respect for all the things that we eat is really wise, and it's really good. I think it's a really good lesson.
Yeah, I think there are degrees there. If you think of the Boeing 787, the latest greatest thing in the air, 78 moving parts, supply chains, going all over the world, all over the States, from everywhere. That's complicated, but it's finite. Yeah, if you're clever enough and you get enough clever people together, you can put it together, and you're done, and it'll fly. That's complicated. Complex is you get that same group of engineers or biochemical engineers. You try making one beautiful stalk of broccoli. You can't do it because there's complexity there. Every time every head that grows will be different, like every snowflake. That is complexity, and that is the realm that nature lives within. Yeah, it's this infinite complexity, and yet it can produce a head of broccoli which looks pretty similar every time, but will be completely different if you really go into the nitty-gritty each time. Isn't that wonderful? So that's, for me, that's Mother Nature saying, go with the variety, guys. Yeah. And if you won't go, if you want to eat just, what's in your garden, I'll do the variety for you. It's called the seasons. Yeah. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. I'll do the variety for you because you might be a little bit foolish or a bit preoccupied with survival. So I will provide, bunnies in summer, and then, I don't know, wildebeest, bunnies in spring, and then wildebeest in summer, and then whatever it is in the autumn, and then not much of anything in the winter. I'll provide that. And there's no surprise really, because this is the environment that we've grown in and evolved in, and we're pretty good at doing our best within that. And Mother Nature is pretty good at saying, listen, we'll just give you the variety, or we'll not give you very much at all. And that's good. That's the whole fasting thing, which I think is important. Part of a great raw food diet for me is no food. No, it's part of the diet. It's the undiet, if you like. Yeah, it's the bit that you don't that you don't feed. Do you remember in the Mozart movie from maybe 25 years ago?
Gosh, it was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. What was it? It was yeah. And they talked about it. The music is what happens in between the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, feeding is great, and that's really, really important. But also think about what happens in between. The time between. I always say to my clients that sleeping is to the brain what fasting is to the pancreas and to the gut.
I like it.
It's good, isn't it? It's just, because, and if you looked at the human being and you said to an accountant, right, how can we make that human being more productive? They say, well, there's a great wodge of non-productive when they're just lying around for 8 hours. Let's get rid of that. And, and they go, oh, look, productivity has doubled. Oh dear, they've fallen over and died 5 days later, or they've gone out of their minds 5 days later. So I think that the ebb and flow, the eating and resting, the exercise and the resting and things, all of these things are a beautiful symphony that all play together. We're getting very poetic this evening, aren't we?
We are. So I want to know what you do for your dogs. Do you fast once a week? We
feed once a day, so they get 23 hours intermittent fasting, essentially. If I'm not really in charge of feeding the dogs, Ellie, my wife, who I must introduce you to next year.
Yeah.
She does the feeding, but I'm kind of watching over without being too, I wouldn't do that.
Micromanaging.
So here's how she feeds the dogs, okay? And I do approve. So she's half Indonesian, okay? So they love to prepare food. Yeah, she prepares food for the kids every night. And for me as well, I'm a lucky guy.
Love it.
She'll get green veggies and she'll slice those up, and she'll get the frying pan that was used to cook bacon and eggs for Arthur for school in the morning. Ophelia, my daughter, she doesn't like a fried breakfast, but Arthur is up for bacon and eggs every morning.
All right, Arthur.
And beg your pardon?
I said, all right, Arthur.
All right, Arthur. Okay. Well, it's either that or Kellogg's cornflakes, and
Right.
that's just a big no-no. Having a dump of carbohydrate first thing in the morning is the worst thing you can do, even to an 11-year-old. Okay, and to people our age, Rob, it's suicide. Yeah. Okay. So she chops up the veg, she puts it in the pan, which has saturated fats in it. Maybe we've cooked something, maybe a steak for lunch or something like this. This is in the evening, 5-ish in the evening. We're not we're not strict on time. She will just kind of play that into the fat and put a bit of heat through it, kind of wilt it, not really cook it, but just kind of wilt it. And I'm happy with that because we've got that reduction in the anti-nutrients there. Cooking can bring out, fermenting can bring out nutrients that would otherwise be a little bit shy. So I think there's some wisdom there. And then we will get like an 80-10-10 type preparation, which is just delivered to the door every month, and that will be a variety. We'll get kind of 4 or 5 different varieties.
Explain that 80-10-10 delivery.
80-10-10. 80-10-10 is a simple mince. When you look at it, it just looks like a pretty colorful mince, and it's approximately 80% muscle meat, which is, well, that should be muscle. It's not very impressive specimen, but you know what I mean. Muscle. It's the stuff that makes things move. Okay, maybe a bit of heart muscle in there as well. So it's 80% there. 80% organs, which would be mainly liver and kidney. Great, lovely. And then approximately 10% bone, which is ground into the mince. And this is what I say to clients: is don't go to some posh supermarket and get their super duper prime human mince, because it hasn't got any bone in it, and it definitely hasn't got any organ in it. Yeah, because if you have bone in it, it's going to be a crunchy hamburger. Nobody wants a crunchy hamburger. Yeah. No. So that will go in the bowl, and then the veggies will be put on top, and then they will be mixed, and then we will add a marine oil. I go like this because this is my sign for squeezing the top of the pump, and then we'll put some herb mix or some Gussie's gut. Rob sent some over. I love it. It's a fantastic product. There's probably other fermented products if they're or you
can make your own.
Or you can make your own. Making your own, or you can get it at the supermarket. Yeah, you say that to most people, and they go, "How do I make it? How do I make?" Sauerkraut's really easy. Basically, you just chop up a load of cabbage. You put it into a jar. You with a little bit of water. You weigh it down so that it's anaerobic. You might add a little bit of salt or a little bit of herb or something like this, but you make it anaerobic. You leave it there. You don't need to add any bugs or anything like that. It's already in there, and within a couple of weeks, you've got sauerkraut. Yeah, with a completely different taste to what went in. What went in was kind of crunchy and cabbagey. What comes out is really salty and really rich and deep, and has a kind of a it tastes a bit like you've put vinegar in there, yeah, because you've got these lactobacilli, producing lactic acid, so which then helps to kind of auto digest the cellulose element as well within the sauerkraut. Or you can buy it from the supermarket. Get the good stuff, get the organic stuff if you possibly can. Yeah. So we may put a little bit of that. We'll put a little bit of Gussie's gut, fermented type product, or some herbal product. We use some of these guys. These are just herbs, though they're not fermented, but they're a nice organic option. So maybe some nuts, herbs, seeds mixed. The nuts will have been soaked overnight.
What nuts do you like?
Herbs will be just from the garden. Seeds, either sprouted or maybe some pumpkin seed. If we're giving pumpkin seed, we usually put them in a coffee, not the coffee grinder, but a coffee grinder, and zip them down and put those in. It sounds like a real faff, but actually you can do it. You can do it with your eyes closed while you're talking to somebody on the phone. I usually don't, because I really enjoy doing it. It's like you like creating art. Every evening, I say I, but actually she does it most of the time. When I do it, it takes about 1.5 minutes. When she does it, it takes probably about 8 minutes because she does it properly.
Nice. What nuts do you like for dogs?
Oh, pretty much anything. I'd go walnuts. I'd go almonds.
Brazil.
Brazils. Yeah, again, variety. Yeah, it's let's not get narrow. Let's get broad.
Yeah,
that's
and
really...
peanuts and cashews are legumes, not nuts.
Yeah. I don't really go peanuts. I try and I love them. Yeah, dry roasted peanuts.
Me too.
Oh,
me too.
God,
I just consider them junk food. So if
they're junk food, therefore it's only after you've had too many glasses of wine, I think.
Right.
When you got your good head on, it's verboten, I think.
That's funny.
No. This is not where we want to go. So there you go. That's
okay. So
that's pretty much it.
You do not feed one day. You just intermittent fast your dogs.
Intermittent fast. Yeah. I read Jason Fung, The Obesity Code. Love him. He's absolutely fantastic. And his second book, Cancer Code, is a masterpiece. And so I was pretty inspired by that. But if you think of it, humans and dogs have been hungry. Dogs, 45 million years, a lot of hunger there. If you're lucky, you don't starve out. If your pack doesn't starve out. And humans, a lot of hunger there, especially in the winter. Yeah, this is renowned. Humans renowned for that. So, and I think we've lost that actually in modern society. You know, in Europe and America, you know, people don't know what hunger is. Well, they do now because they're doing intermittent fasting and they're doing maybe a 3-day fast. Tim Ferriss, he does a 3-day fast every month. Yeah, but he's Mr. Extreme. I'd like him, but he's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fasting. I've fasted my dogs for 23 years, once a week.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No food. I do the intermittent fasting. They get fed once.
Yeah. Good.
Puppies are harder. You have to feed puppies multiple times a day and all that.
Yeah.
But the intermittent fasting plus the 1 day a week, and you mentioned pancreas and gut, but I would throw in and I would submit to you that you're giving the colon a rest, the liver, kidneys.
Yeah.
You know, you're giving the whole chain. It's like just chill out and rejuvenate. And the way I've always thought about it, Nick, I don't know what you think, is that you're giving the body, your dog's body, a chance to dedicate 100% of its resources to rejuvenating and revitalizing itself. That's how I see it.
Yeah. I think what the body has done is it's taken a challenge and turned, i.e. hunger, and turned it into a resource, which is rest, apoptosis. Let's get rid of all the bad cells.
Yeah.
Let's cleanse. Let's any fats that we need to just trim. Losing weight dramatically, you can have just a massive, horrendous flush of toxins. Do you know where the biggest residue of dioxin? Back in the 60s, they were spraying dioxin around everywhere. Do you know where that all is? Which repository that now is? The biggest repository?
No.
It's in human fat.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're losing weight, we just do that. We do that gradually, so that any toxins, any heavy metals, any fat soluble toxins, they can just come out bit by bit. The liver can crunch them up as much as possible, and then methylate and pass those through. I think that's really important. Can't remember what the question was. We're going on to so many tangents.
I can't remember either. Because all I can say in my head is apoptosis. Also, what people don't realize is this whole, again, we get back to complexity, and we get back to awe and honoring like nature and all of these, and this is millions and millions of years of creation, of adaptation, changing, but honoring that intelligence of nature it's almost like that's my first principle that I come back to when I don't understand something well enough, or I don't think there's enough science on something. And the microbiome qualifies for that. I mean, we don't know how come the pie of what we do not know is so much, is 90% of what, there's a little sliver of what we do know.
Yeah, it's like dark matter, isn't it? It's like we know 4% and there's 96%. But the thing is, we know that there's 96% dark matter. Yeah. As far as microbiological dark matter, we don't know. We may be just at 0.4%. We may be at 40%. I doubt it. I think it's more like 0.4%. And I'm thinking, if I had to start again, I think coming back as a microbiologist would be really fascinating, and just be on the way leading edge of microbiome research. I think we're just scratching the surface here. It's a bit like, Henry Ford first made a car, is it Alexander Bell? He said, this is a really important invention. One day, every town will have one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of any process, you don't know where it's going to take you.
Nope.
Yeah.
No. And, the Chinese for over 5,000 years have been doing fermentation. They understand the gut connection. Hippocrates, father of medicine, famous for, the expression, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, but also, is it disease begins in the gut, or is that the quote?
Was that him or Galen? I'm not sure. However, they knew stuff that has been pretty much denied up until fairly recently, and now with the MRIs, with the electron microscopes, with the advanced gene techniques, we're suddenly coming around to the idea that the gut is really the second brain.
Yeah,
it's the heart of the immune system. It's the heart of the endocrine hormone system.
Even the connection to the lungs.
There's a connection to the lungs. The Chinese have been saying that 5,000 years. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's all interconnected, and we don't know the half of it. So I think we need to get out of the way as much as possible, feed the best food we possibly can with the least contaminants. There's going to be glyphosate in most stuff you feed, but whatever you can do to just move away from conventionally grown product is a good idea. I'm a massive fan of regenerative agriculture, where we're just using ruminants on the soil to regenerate, to thicken, then put back the soil we've lost over the last 100 years or so. I'm a real big fan of that. Nitrogen fertilizer, the Green Revolution in the 60s and 70s. It had its place. They were trying to feed loads of people after the war and what have you. But actually, we now realize that is a short-term gain for a long-term loss.
That's right.
And so be careful about any farming method that's using that kind of artificial fertilizer, and always try and find a local farm who is practicing regenerative agriculture, where they're not using glyphosate, they're not using fertilizer. You can do it. Gabe Brown proves that you can do it. Joel Salatin proves that you can do it. Charlie Arnott in Australia, the wonderful regenerative journey farmer, proves that you can do it. And he's spoken to hundreds of farmers all over Australia. And so he's doing a fantastic job down there educating the world on regenerative agriculture. And if you think of it, Australia is probably some of the most difficult places to grow
Arid
grass. And because it's if the sun doesn't get you, then the rain will get you.
Yeah.
And they're doing amazing work down there. So they're I think, possibly leading the world.
Yeah, well, and Will Harris in here in the States in
Georgia. Yeah, Will Harris, White Oak Pastures, I think it is. Yeah,
that's right. And what these guys are focused on is, besides all, they're focused on a lot: humane treatment of animals, the quality of living of animals, but the actual organic matter is measured in their soil, and they're fastidious, and they're just absolutely committed to a richer soil, not dirt, but soil health. And that translates into again, going back to the beginning of our show here today, you are what you eat. How do we say that? You are what you eat.
Are what you eats. Yeah. So if the beef animal is, you are eating what it eats, but it is eating what the grass eats.
Yep.
And the grass is what the bugs eat.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the actual title of the book, and I'm just trying. I'm doing the guy a disservice because he's very, very good. If would you be able to put it down in the show notes, or
of course,
put it along here or something? The title of the book should be "You Are What Your Food Eats."
True.
Okay. And guys, you're thinking, oh my God, these guys have been going 57 minutes, and I'll tell you, we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh yeah.
We have just done a flyby on about 1,000 fascinating topics.
Yes. And I did Google, it is Hippocrates 2,000 years ago said that all disease begins in the gut.
Yes.
And he also he's more famous for let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Now I'm going to make an ungraceful segue that we have this new saying that I want you to take it with it. Bring it to the UK.
Who's this?
Which is
Gussie's Gut.
No. Well, yes, it's our company Gussie's Gut, but Dr. B and I, we say that let treats be thy medicine.
Ooh.
Because why shouldn't dog treats contribute to the health of your dog just as much as a quality raw food diet and all that good stuff in the gut? And so I'm going to just show, I'm embarrassed to say I don't have a package that's actually full because we've sold so many of them, honestly. So this is, wait, I got to get myself on, I got to do a good job of this. So this is Gussie's Guttables.
Okay.
It's reversed. Look at what a horrible promoter I am.
This is the, and a word from our sponsors now. Moment.
I mean, but here's the deal. So this is White Oak Pastures.
Oh,
we use heritage pork and English breed pork. And we made a custom blend of Gussie's Gut, and we use a New Zealand honey. It's Manuka honey. And that's the food. Let treats be thy medicine. Let food be thy medicine. All of these have very, very specific roles in playing for creating a really healthy treat. It's my hope. It's not easy to sell this kind of a quality product because we don't have, Nick, and I know you know this term, externalized costs. When you buy things at this level and quality, you're paying the full the full cost, there's a vertical integration in making all of these products, each individual, the pork, the organic produce that gets fermented, and then the bees in New Zealand. So you have to create a product that is together with these three products, it is bigger than the sum than its parts. Together, the sum of it is bigger than its parts. So that's what we've tried to do with this Gussie's Guttables. Now, aside from that, I obviously did a horrible job in promoting, because I'm surprised I even have the package.
No, it was good. It was very authentic, Rob. There was no bullshit. It was good.
Yeah. Is that a euphemism for a shitty presentation?
It was a really honest presentation. Okay. And I think that's going to be, it's going to speak to people a whole lot more than this. I really love this thing, and my dogs look really, really happy on it. Yeah, I think there's more authenticity to that. So I'd stick with that. Okay. It's going to be a more expensive product because of the factors that you've just described, but you get what you pay for. Yeah. You name me any area of life where the cheap stuff is better than the quality stuff at the top. So I would stick with it. Yeah. Obviously, get it down as much as possible to make it accessible to as many people as possible, but quality costs. Yeah, you can't pick up a Rolls Royce for $20,000. Yeah, you just can't. Okay, because they can't make that quality at that price range. Yeah, you're if you want a Rolls Royce, then there will be a commitment to that. But the thing is, what you're going to get there, the nutrient density of that kind of product, because will be growing those pigs in an environment that they're going to be getting nutrients that most pigs can only dream of, and the quality of the fat is going to be superb. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah,
you've got your fermented products going in there. And they are going to be very, very grown in a very clean environment. Yeah. And then the Manuka honey. Yeah. Manuka bees honey. Yeah. It's a pretty clean environment. And so you get what you pay for. I'm really, really comfortable with that.
Yeah. I mean, what I really hope that this does is it changes over the next 10 years. It changes the trajectory of the treat business a little bit for our pets, that we're aiming a little higher for what we are treating our pets with. Because there's so many, you on the one end, on the low end, you've got the excipients, fillers, and junk, just general chemicals and junk. But then you have the more conventional level, and then you have the organic level. And then we see this being above that organic level. I'll just say one thing, and I want to see if you agree with me on this. I see things, Nick, and I've said this before, I see things pretty simply. I see things as like the junk level, the tier, junk tier, better, best, and then good, better, best. And then I think the best, I call it the God tier, the highest aspiration that we currently have and know. And so I see, when you talk about clean and vegetables and all these, I see very simply conventional conventional manufacturing and factory farming. Then you have organic, which is still, in my opinion, fairly low bar. Then you've got
bio. It's where you start, I think.
Where you start.
Anything below that is no go. Unless you want to have glyphosate for breakfast, etc.
Yeah.
If you do, go ahead.
I mean, it's your choice. You get to do that. And then
organic is where it starts, but you can only go north from organic. I completely agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Because biodynamic, regenerative if it's real regenerative, not
Yeah.
this. We see this
Yeah,
a lot. Do you have this in the UK? This regenerative washing?
Yeah. It's yeah. Well, they say that we're regenerative, but they'll be using glyphosate or
Yeah.
whatever. It's like we're on the way to becoming regenerative. It's like in Australia they're turning soil around in 3 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, using the Alan Savory type methodologies to build soil, and they're putting in crops over grass, and they'll take out the crops, and then they've got something for the cattle to graze on. You've got permanent cover of soil. You've got retention of water, which is a big deal in Australia.
Yes.
So it's the future. Yeah, I think that we have been degrading agriculture in the West and in Australia and in North America and Canada and South America. I think we've been doing that for 100 years, and it's going to bite us on the bum if it hasn't already. Yeah, we're already down to the very, the last inch or two in some states in America, and all they can do is just ladle on the fertilizer and pray they get another crop. Whereas the regenerative guys are going, hey, look at this, we're building a centimeter, an inch a year. Okay, in the old days we used to say you could build an inch every 1,000 years, and if you just leave the ground to it, it might just do that. But if you get those ruminants on there, the manure goes in, the urine goes in, their feet trample in and aerate the soil, and that generates the worms. Charles Darwin wrote one of his most famous books, apart from The Origin of Species, was on worms. He was the guy who realized that worms are where it's at. They are the guardians of the soil.
We should say the worm's knees instead of the bee's knees.
The worm's knees, yeah.
Right. The Savory Institute is what is Alan Savory's organization, and they do amazing work. I encourage. They're down the road from me in Boulder.
Oh,
yeah, we have our Savory Institute office is here.
Wow,
and they have savory hubs all over the world, of which White Oak Pastures is a savory hub.
Wow.
And so the data they're collecting and the really amazing science and natural methods that they use is they're an amazing group. And I encourage people, if you're interested in regenerative farm, you can look into them. Nick,
also look at Gabe Brown, who we were talking about dirt and soil. His book is called Dirt to Soil. And then there's Joel Salatin. You'll find him all over the internet. He's kind of the
Polyface Farms.
Polyface, yeah. He and Will were some real pioneers. In this space. So that's good. Also check out, like I said, Charlie Arnott, Arnott, at The Regenerative Journey. He talks to some remarkable people. If you like podcasts, he's your man. He's done some great podcasts.
Charlie Arnott.
Charlie Arnott. Yeah.
Arnott. Okay. We'll put that in the notes below the video.
Cool.
And you're of course at holisticvet.co.uk.
I am.
It's been a good hour with you, Nick.
As it says here.
That's right. But it doesn't say .co.uk.
Yeah, .co.uk, because we are a company in the UK. Yeah. Fabulous. I didn't know what we were going to be talking about, Rob, but actually it was absolutely so stimulating. You lit the blue touch paper, and I was able to just I love this stuff so much.
People may not know you and I. We WhatsApp messages quite a bit. We have a lot in common, and it's not. I wasn't afraid that we would have nothing to talk about here. I knew we would get right to it. Easy.
It's easy. It's
Yeah.
so stimulating. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. And listen, I'm coming to the States at the end of next year, like October-ish time. If we can even just do dinner somewhere,
Done
that would
deal.
be so
Done deal.
amazing.
You're going to be in Florida, right?
Going to be in San Diego,
Okay.
kind of second week in October, and then with Judy Morgan, Dr. Judy Morgan in Orlando. She's doing a big thing. Then I think the third weekend, 22nd of October ish, and then so we've got to get overland, and we're just looking at the best way to do that. Yeah, and so I presume Georgia. That's somewhere between Texas and Florida, I presume.
That's correct.
Georgia's down there. Okay, so I would be really keen to sneak in and see Will Harris and his daughter and just check those guys out, because it's, I'm not down that way so often. So
we'll get you a cabin, one of their cabins on the property on a lake. And you make sure you reach out to me about that. We'll get you going. We'll get you a tour and all that.
Okay, cool.
You can see the cattle move once, every day they move the cattle. Phenomenal, majestic, beautiful.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, great. I will be in touch with you for to make that happen. That'd be really amazing. But listen, I wish you all the very, very best. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. It's great. If you want to talk, if you want to just talk and talk for an hour again, anytime, let me know.
Dude, we're going to do it a lot. Yeah. This is, why just talk on the phone when we could make a podcast and help other people, show them what, tell them what we're talking about. And I mean, I got a lot from this, just, and I talked to you quite a bit. I mean, getting to know how you feed your dogs is super enlightening to me. You're like, if people don't know, look up Nick immediately. He's the raw guy. I mean, like you founded how is it?
Raw Feeding Gut and Eat Society. Yeah.
RFVS. Yes, I always get
exactly right. RFVS.info. Yep, check us out. Yeah.
Sure. And really a leader in the movement. So, all right, man. Great talking to you, Nick.
Take it easy, brother.
With us.
Great to see you. All the best to you and yours. Yeah.
Same. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody.